Welcome to our channel. The third South African assault took place on February 25, 1988. In the days leading up to the attack, South African casualties increased as Cuban MiGs stepped up their operations. On February 19, the Cubans shot down a South African Mirage, and 2 days later, they bombed a South African column east of the Cuito River, killing 3 South African soldiers and wounding 1 more. Aware that further casualties would be politically damaging, the South African Defence Force, SAD, chief placed restrictions on their forces. The chief ordered the overworked Olifants tanks to support the main assault and prioritized the destruction of the FAPLA's 23mm anti-aircraft guns, which had caused the most damage. On February 22, 61 Mech was selected to lead the assault, with 4 Psi and a small reserve force as backup. The attack would begin with fake assaults by 32 Battalion and UNITA to confuse the enemy. Once the positions of 59 Brigade were taken, all forces would focus on capturing 21 Brigade and possibly the bridge itself. The FAPLA troops were demoralized, and it was hoped that attacking their final positions would break their will to continue fighting. On February 24, as South African forces were positioning themselves for the assault, 59 Brigade was ordered to withdraw across the Cuito River. This sparked an urgent meeting between the Angolan and Cuban commanders, who realized the South Africans were about to attack. They decided to leave 1 battalion of 59 Brigade behind to cover the others as they retreated. After South African G5 artillery began their bombardment, FAPLA troops began pulling back to the river, with 25 Brigade following at 4 a.m. the next day. 2 hours later, the South Africans launched their assault. However, 61 Mech quickly ran into minefields east of 59 Brigade's positions. The commander's tank triggered an anti-tank mine, and 2 more tanks were lost trying to maneuver through the minefield. The South African attack was then announced to the defenders, and Cuban artillery started to fire. Cuban MiGs began airstrikes, killing a South African AW missile operator. The South Africans struggled to clear a path through the minefields due to difficulties with their mine-clearing equipment and the large number of anti-personnel mines. But once a path was cleared, the tank squadrons moved through and joined 32 Battalion and UNITA for the main assault. By the time UNITA reached the FAPLA's forward trenches, they had already been abandoned. However, the South Africans then encountered another minefield. Continuous artillery and airstrikes destroyed another Olifant tank and a Ratel, causing several casualties. Cuban tanks in the bridge area prepared to counterattack, but the situation was too chaotic for it to be successful. Instead, the defenders relied on their artillery, which relentlessly bombarded the South Africans. The Cuban gunners became blackened with soot by the end of the day. When the South Africans finally reached the FAPLA's main positions, the sun was setting behind Cuito Cuanavale, blinding the gunners. With casualties rising, the South African commander requested permission to pull back. Though 61 Mech was ordered to retreat only a short distance and hold its positions for a night attack, the continued bombardment, which destroyed 3 more vehicles, and mechanical issues with the tanks led to a full withdrawal. By nightfall, the last South African troops returned to their positions east of the Tumpo. Encouraged by their success in stopping the South African attack, 59 Brigade completed its withdrawal across the Cuito River the following morning. 25 Brigade dug into new positions east of the bridge. The failure of this third South African attack marked a turning point in the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, boosting the morale of the FAPLA forces and halting the South African advance. Despite suffering heavy losses, 172 FAPLA soldiers, 10 Cubans, and at least 7 tanks destroyed, the FAPLA successfully withdrew to the Tumpo Triangle. This was their first success after nearly 5 months of setbacks. 2 days later, Castro sent a message congratulating the men of 59 and 25 Brigades for their successful withdrawal under fire. Castro reminded them that the strategy had been his idea. The FAPLA Cuban defenses were now firmly in place, with 4 brigades, plus a Cuban regiment, guarding the town on the western banks of the river. While 25 Brigade and 3 Tank Battalion were defending the Tumpo bridgehead. Continue watching our videos to learn more about the Angola War.